Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for January 15th, 2022. So, man, it is dark this morning. There's not much light coming in. Anyways, we have a really rainy day here in Oregon, and so that's just kind of how it's going to go. Anyway, this last week was hard because of the whole 5 days I had to work that I haven't had to do in the last 3 weeks. So that was kind of hard. It was just long. Nothing bad, anything going on. I'm hoping today my coworker is going to come and take a lot of the wood that's left, and then I'm hoping to get the tree stumps taken out in the next week or so. But I have to let him know when we're ready, you know, that kind of thing. So other than that, not much is going on. I don't think anything's really happening. I am looking forward to not next weekend, but the weekend after, I'm going to the coast with my family for a little weekend. Kind of my dad's Christmas present to my mom. We're going to get to rent a house out there, so near Seaside. So I think that'll be fun, but that's another 2 weeks, and I really want to go now. I'm not taking any days off. My brother and I will just leave after we get off work on Friday and then be back on Sunday afternoon. So it's a short one for us. They might stay longer, but I can't remember what they're doing. But point is, it should be fun. And so I'm kind of looking forward to that, but that's still a little ways out. But I was thinking about this morning with the rainy. I'm like, I want to be on the coast, but not yet. I do want to say that this is going to sound really weird. I am really trying to be very intentional with my book buying, and I don't know where I lost the whole restraint of book buying. I've already bought quite a few books this month. I'm tracking it. I have tracked it in the last 3 years, how much I've bought. And again, last year was probably my highest ever. So this year I was like, I'm trying to be very intentional about what I am buying and when I buy and stuff. And I did let myself go to Barnes & Noble yesterday. So I bought a couple of books that were buy one, get one half off. So, but the thing is I'm trying to keep, I don't know, maybe I need a whole video for this, but, I guess I was going to do it probably in February. But the thing is that let's just say that I need to read some books this week to at least match up to what I've bought so far this week. I'm a little off by a few books, but hopefully this week I will catch up and I will be back on track of reading a book off my TBR and matching a book I bought already. Anyway, I'm just saying I'm struggling. It's only the first 2 weeks of the month that I'm already struggling. I mean, I thought I did so well all week, and then I get to the weekend, and then anyway. So, okay. So Cooper and I are here to talk about what I read this week, what I'm in the middle of, and what I think I'm going to read in the next week. So, I think I was reading this on Sunday, Icelander by Dustin Long. This is one of my books for 23 books in 2023 that I want to read because it's been on my shelf for several years. I'd bought it on vacation, actually on the coast a couple years ago. And I hear it was a really weird mystery kind of book. And it is very weird. So we're following a woman who we never get her name because it's supposed to hide her identity. And she is called our heroine throughout this. And she is a woman who grew up with parents who were kind of adventurers. Her mother was kind of like Nancy Drew, and she would find herself in mysteries and would solve the case and stuff. So she had this great career. Her mother's been dead for many years, but the town that they lived in has this every year. It was that it was her day, and I can't remember their name, but they have this celebration of her and all of her stories because she wrote diaries during that time. But this other man went on to write like the adventures in more of a novel form, and those became very popular, which is why she's still popular after her death. So our heroine is the daughter who is featured in the books because she was young during a lot of the adventures. She got kidnapped. She was, stuck in an ice somewhere. And I don't know, she was all over. And Iceland is really an important location because it has this kind of alternate world history kind of thing of people who live beneath Iceland. And it's kind of this weird thing with those people, with people of Iceland, and then also these other people who I think are American. So it's like this kind of, that were the adventurers who got kind of caught up in it. And it's just, it's a very weird book. I'm not explaining this very well because I don't know how to explain this book. So somebody dies who is important to our heroine, and it's the day after they found out that she's died. And so it's now the day of that celebrates her mother and those books and everything. And they're having like a little festival, as I said. So there are new people in town. Kitty. There are new people in town. And there are people who are related to the mystery, the stories that are told in those books. And even the writer of those books are there. And she and the writer has had kind of a falling out over the years. And her father is still alive, but he has like Alzheimer's. So he doesn't quite know what's going on. And he thinks behind everything is somebody is trying to attack them, which again is from... What are you doing? Sorry, the cat's driving me crazy. Anyway, so the... It is kind of it's a very weird book. It's written in a lot of vignettes. It kind of changes perspectives a few times. Like it goes from just everybody's in third person, and then it'll go to first person in a certain section for certain characters. And then there's this other character who is like an author, actor who is kind of weaved into the story too. This is a really strange book, but I can't say that I enjoyed it. Actually, it was really fun through, I would say, over half of it. I was really intrigued. This whole, everything, all these weird elements, all these weird things. And then the ending was horrific. I was horrible. Like, it was just like, what? I did not like the ending of this. I think it brought it down. I think it ruined it pretty much. I didn't like, I mean, I guessed, no, I did not. Well, no. Okay. So I didn't really guess the culprit of the mystery. I kind of guessed a little bit, but not, I still, you know, I didn't really, I kind of maybe guessed it one day and then I thought, no, you know, so I think it got me there for the mystery, but it wasn't worth it in the end because of what happens in the end and how it wraps up. It just, it was so corny by the end, I guess is what I was saying. I don't know. This book was a weird book. It was a weird experience. I'm glad I put it on this list to read it because, again, I've been reading some really weird books when I read, like, you know, Gideon and Harrow and Nona were really weird kind of books. So I was kind of in the mood for weird books, which, again, I will talk about a couple more. And I'm glad I got this off. I'm not going to keep this book. This is just not worth it for me. It was just weird, but it's definitely one I tried. I think I bought this because I thought that it was translated and also kind of weird because I like weird fiction in a lot of ways. But this one just didn't hit for me. I'm kind of disappointed in that. But it was a weird experience. So if you could find it at your library or something like that and you want to give it a shot, I would say, yeah, go ahead. But don't expect much of this. I don't know. It let me down. I was really hoping it was going to stick it in by the end, but it just didn't. It just went crazy and I just didn't really like it. Then I read The Cabinet by Yoo-Soo Kim, which is translated by Sean Lee Halbert. So this has been on my shelf since I think I bought it last year. And I know a lot of people talked about it when it came out. I think it was brought out in English in 2021. So I probably either picked it up late 2021 or early 2022. I can't remember. So it's been sitting on my shelf for a while and I meant to read this all year. So this is the weird story about this office where there is a cabinet with all these kind of strange cases. And it's kind of people who have kind of extra ability, maybe not abilities, but have something weird about them. And there's a scientist who is protecting this cabinet, and then we're following the man who kind of gets pulled into that world, as it has been working there for a while when we start the story. So we kind of see how he got to become the one who manned the phone and talked to these people who are in these files. And this started out really good. Like, I really liked the first couple of chapters. It was really kind of like short story kind of things about different people with different things that happened to them or different, and you some of them were very sad, but there were weird things, you know, that had something physically had changed in them, something had happened to them. And then, I mean, there's even one guy who wants to turn into a cat. mean, there are some cute things, some funny things in here. And then it changed because we were very kind of distant from the stories because it was the guy who worked at who was working for the scientist. So he's the one getting the phone calls and we're kind of following him. And then suddenly he's kind of more inserted into the story and more things happen to him because of the cabinet. And then it kind of at the end just took this right turn. And I was like, what the heck just happened? And it just got worse, like as for him. And it was so unexpected to me. I was so stunned by the way this went. And then I hated the ending. So this is again another one where this ending just ruined it. I was like, what the heck just happened? I think the first part and was really well done. I really liked it. I did just see Angela at Literary Science Alliance talk about this as well, that she had read it for in the last couple weeks, I guess, or last week. And she, like, as I said, I think I was the same thing. I'd read Strange Beasts in China last year by Jin G, is that what I don't remember what the last name is, but that was the same thing where it starts out kind of like these individual stories, and then the character who is telling us the stories kind of gets involved and things get kind of complicated and weird. But I just felt that one worked better, even though it was not my favorite book either. I think it worked better than this one did. This is South Korean and that one was from China, so it was like, so it's very different. They're really a lot alike. And they're both was originally written in the same kind of time frame in the mid 20-aughts. So it's just weird because I think this one came out in 2006 and won a lot of awards, which I can see. It's weird. It's just a weird book. I'm glad I read it. I really like the cover because I like the little kitty on there. And it was a weird book, but overall, I just didn't enjoy it in the end. I was actually, again, very disappointed by the midway on. It just went in directions that I was like, why are we doing this? And why is it so bad? Like it just, the main character we got more of him into it. And I didn't like that as much as learning about the other people. I didn't mind that he was would talk to them in the other sections. But once he became the focus, I just didn't like this story as well. So again, not one I'm probably going to keep. What did I mark? I don't know why I marked something. Oh, that's right. There was something about his job before he took on doing stuff with the cabinet that was so reminiscent of how my job is right now. That's why I marked that, because I was talking about sometimes feeling like there's nobody cares, just as long as you're sitting in your seat, that's fine, you're gonna get paid. So I kind of feel like that sometimes because I'm waiting for stuff to come in. So I did acknowledge that, like, that part spoke to me because I do understand that. But the rest of it, as I said, the beginning was really good up until probably about 2/3 of the way, and then it just kind of flipped, as I said, to something else. And I definitely did not like the end or where it went. It went down like a disappointment. So anyway, but I did read a translated work, and I did enjoy some of it, not all of it, but it was weird. And I'm glad I finally got to it off my shelf. And then I finished my reread, Perdido Street Station by China Melville. This is the first book in the new Crobason series. So I read this book back in 2011. I actually thought I had reread this, but I must not have. It must be because I read The City in the City like 3 times for book clubs. That's why I think I reread this one. But anyway, this was, I really remember enjoying this one, and I did enjoy this as well. I listened to it on audio by John Lee, and it was really well done. He did a really great job. I got it from my library to reread this because I want to continue and finish this series. So I bought these really cool covers. I didn't need these books because I've read it and I had an old copy of this one, but the rest of the series I have in this one. So I finally bought this one, I think last year to match. So anyway, I did read this. This is following, it's like this. So it's a fantasy world. And again, this is weird science or weird fantasy / science fiction. There's a lot of steampunk stuff in here. It's talking about a world where there's this big city, New Crobason, and in there is a lot of different species, a lot of different races of different kind of people. One of them is human, and he is Isaac, and he is a scientist, and he is approached by Garuda, I think is what it's on, which is a flying humanoid, and they want him to do something scientifically for them, which kind of starts him on this path of trying to figure out how things fly. And in that, he buys a very different caterpillar, which kind of spirals this story out of control. His lover is kind of an insecticide, there's like, she's different, Lynn. I just love her though, but it starts with just them, but it's like it grows. You have this whole cast of characters, and the town is just like a character in itself. And then things just, this hellscape starts happening, because it's very dark and gloomy and very like Industrial Revolution, kind of like all the smoke and all that kind of stuff. And people are very separated by their different what kind of species they are, but they all work in this city, and they all came there for different reasons. And the personal connections over some of that is very interesting. But again, the storyline is just kind of how things go wrong in this city. Mostly because of greed. But the point is, it was really interesting. I think it's a great book. As I said, this is my second time reading it, and it was like 12 years ago that I read it for a book club. So I'm really glad that I re-listened to that, or I listened to it this time on audio, and then I'm going to hopefully continue the next book, The Scar, fairly soon, hopefully in February, because I want to get through this. This is, again, one of the trilogies that I want to read this year for Serious About Series. So this one, I really enjoyed it. I don't love, this is never going to be a 5-star book for me, because there's just so much to it, and there's so many things that I don't like. Like, I don't like this one. Again, I didn't like the ending so much. I see why it went that way, but I don't like it. I like the action up until right before the end. Like the climax part of it, all that was all good. Like, I have no problems with that. It's like kind of like the aftermath. That part I didn't like so much. But that's my opinion. So anyway, I really love these copies. Anyway, so, but I'm glad I reread that. So that was gigantic and doesn't really count for any of my buying goals, but I did read on. So I finished that. And then the last book I finished, I finished, hold on. I have to go get hold on. Sorry about that. I forgot my iPad. So here we go. The other audiobook I finished this week was Pendrick and the Shaman by Louis McMaster Bujo. This is the second novella in the world of the 5 gods, following Pendrick and Desdemona. So this again is a young man who, on his way to be married, comes across this woman and her entourage, and he is when she passes away, her demon passes to him, and so it's him trying to figure out how to deal with this demon in his head, which has many personalities from different people who have had this demon. Anyway, so this one continues. This is several years after the first book, Pendrick's Demon. So I listened to that last week. And again, this is a novella series I've been wanting to read for a couple years. I just haven't got around to it. But the second one was really good. They're trying to find somebody who they think that killed somebody, and he is sent to help this, I don't remember what they call him. Not a watcher. Started with an L. I don't remember what it was. Like a kind of a guardsman kind of thing is going and finding this fugitive. And the fugitive is having enough trouble of his own, of things that are going on that he's not expecting and things dealing with. And I like the way this went. It was just, again, a novella. It was about 4.5 hours on audio, I think. So it was very short, about 160 pages. So I listened to that from the library. I already have the third one ready to go on my audio as well. These are read by Grover Gardner, and I think he does a really great job. So anyway, I'm probably gonna pick that up at some point. Oops, I almost dropped that too. Anyway, But those are like fantasy, as I said, very, very light, easy reads. They're kind of, they have some humor and it's just kind of cute. I do want to now, I put on my list of, once I finish some other of the trilogies that I'm reading, that if I finish one of them, I want to read the 3 books in the World of the Five Gods, which is following the Curse of Chalion and the Hollowed Hunt. And I don't know what the other book is. I only have the first one. So I do have more books in this world, just different characters and stuff, so that are full like novels. So once I finish the Pendrick and Desdemona series, I'll probably go into that at some point. So anyway, but those, I really enjoyed that. So I'm glad I continued on to that. And then yesterday I finished Haunted by the Past by Simon R. Green. This is book 11 in the Ishmael Jones series. You can't see my collection back there, right? I have all the books in paperback. I always get the hardbacks from the library because I don't want hardbacks if I can help it on these. So I usually wait till paperback comes out, but I always read them from the library when they come out. And this one came out end of last year. I had to wait for 1 or 2 people ahead of me. So it came in early this year, so I got to it. And this was a fun one. This was not one of my favorites, but definitely not a bad read. If you like the Ishmael Jones series, I know some people don't care for them. I find them just so much fun. So Ishmael Jones is working for this shady organization that deals with kind of unnatural, kind of alien things. Because Ishmael Jones is an alien. He crash landed in the 1960s, and his spaceship, as its last kind of order, changed him human, but he has not aged since 1960. And so this is, again, we've gone through a lot of books. The book right before this was huge on his past history. This is him and his partner Penny, who is just a delight. Anyway, she's just fun. They're just gung-ho investigators who are sent to find out why one of the people in the organization disappeared at this house, Glenberry Hall. And Glenberry Hall has a reputation for being haunted or people disappearing. And they have this big history of somebody who was going to revolt against James II, I think. I think that's who. Anyway, but he was going to go there and start a revolution, and then he just disappeared. So they talk about, some stuff in history, but, this is kind of changed or alternate. I don't know. This was fun. I didn't guess really who the person was at all. I actually second guessed myself all the way through it. So that was fun. I did really enjoy that. Again, this has it has like this science speculative element, but it's not always, we just don't always know if it's going to be alien or if we think it's going to be just people being people. So it's kind of one of those. So I do classify this as urban fantasy, because these are like English country manor murder mysteries with a supernatural twist. But you never know if it's real, it's just kind of, you just never know if it's just going to be human or if it's going to be something weird. There's always weird stuff, but you just don't know how it's going to go. And then, so again, this is just another one of those that you just don't know what's happening with the Haunted by the Past. Anyway, I did like it. It was a good entry. I'm glad I read this. Now I just have to wait for a paperback forever, probably. They did change publishers, so I'm hoping he'll bring it out in paperback, because I might have to buy hardback if it doesn't, but because I love that series. I'm waiting for it to end, and then I'll reread all of them, because I've really enjoyed the journey over the years of reading that series. Okay, so let's move into the books I'm reading. So again, I finished quite a bit. What is that? Did I 5? I did 5. Yeah, I did pretty good this week on finishing stuff. So the book I did start this week and have paused, I don't know what to do with this one, is House Immortal by Devin Monk. So this is the first book in the House Immortal series. It's a trilogy. This is one of the books I did a triad chapter on many years ago, or a couple of years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago. And I definitely wanted to try it from the first chapter. I wanted to read it. And actually the sad part is that it is I got it signed when I saw the author's fairly local to me. So she was at Pal's one day with a whole bunch of other authors. And so I got this then. So this is following, her name, Matilda. I knew it was May. Anyway, so Matilda is kind of different. So this is a post-apocalyptic world where we're in the couple hundred years in the future, where there has been a devastating civil war, and part of that had to do with the galvanized, who are beings who were human, and then suddenly they are kind of more, they're immortal now, and so they have thread of their body parts are kind of sewn together with this thread that holds them together, and but they're very destructible. Like, they could have their arm or leg taken off, but they could have it reattached and, and come back from it. Only if their brain is really destroyed are they gone. But even then, the 12 who became at the early 1900s are still around, and it's been like 300 years. So we're following Matilda, who is not that old, but she has taken over a body that has mysterious origins, when her body started to fail when she was about 8 years old. So she took over this other body, and so she's technically galvanized, but we're not, we don't know how or why, between her father, who was a great scientist, and her brother, who is also a genius. And she hasn't seen her brother in a few years. Her parents have passed away. They were killed by one of the houses. So the world is now ruled by like 11 houses, 10 or 11. I don't remember how many houses, 10 houses, 12. I don't remember. They're all color named. Anyway, so they've been hiding out in, on a farm out in Pennsylvania. So it was weird. I didn't realize that this was Earth until they mentioned Pennsylvania. But anyway, that first chapter, I don't know how I missed it the first time I read it, but this time I'm like, oh, this is here. Anyway, I didn't quite get that for the first time I read it. Anyway, okay, so so Matilda is out there with her kind of a weird farm. She's living with her grandmother, who has Alzheimer's and is not always quite present. And then she also has a hand, or what do you call those? A farm hand, who is named Ned's because he has two heads. So there's right Ned and left Ned. Anyway, it was very interesting. Anyway, so there's so much stuff about this I liked in the beginning. I like the setup of her trying to figure out what happened to her brother. She's connected to the Brown house, which is the house that doesn't have any power, but a lot of people who kind of live on the fringe of this world, who don't follow all the media stuff and all the, get involved in all that. They are kind of the underground house, and she is part of that, and her brother was kind of the leader of it, but he's gone missing in the last couple of years. And so she doesn't know where he is, so she's worried about him. And then she gets a visitor from a galvanized who shows up on her doorstep injured, and he pretty much tells her that everybody knows that she now exists, and that she has to come with him to the city. And they go, and then it's kind of their adventure of what happens when she becomes known to the galvanized and all the other houses. So I read 236 pages of this in 2 days, and after I set it down that day, I don't want to pick it back up. Things were starting to happen in here that I was like, why are we doing this? This premise was really cool. I really enjoyed it. And then it started to go downhill. So this is one of those books where, again, I've read 70% of this book, and I really don't want to continue. I don't want to DNF it and not finish it. But I'm also like going, the ending has to be spectacular for me to want to pick up book 2 or 3. So I don't own them. I've only owned the first book on my shelf, which is good. Because I don't know if I want to continue on. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I have 100 pages exactly left. So I kind of think that one day I'll just sit down and read it to finish it out. But I'm just not, I think I stopped reading on this on Wednesday and haven't picked it up since. So I don't know what to do about this one. I still think it sounds so cool. It was going in a direction, again, that I just didn't really want to go. I was like, no, you could do so much more with this. And then I started questioning her logic of things that had happened before the book started. Like why, a lot of things to do with her brother. And there's things about her brother in here that were fascinating, things that we learn about. It's just, I don't know. There's just something about this. So I have read a whole trilogy by Devin Monk before, and I didn't love it because I got rid of it after I finished it. It was more Western urban fantasy. You know, that kind of, it was kind of different, kind of steampunky. Yeah, it was kind of fun. I mean, it was fun, but I didn't love it, so I got rid of it. So I have 2 more first books in her series on my shelf, so I kind of want to read this just to read it, but I'm also not sure I want to force myself. So I'm at it kind of, it's not a DNF yet. It's on hold. So we'll see what I want to do about that. Okay, so let's talk about the books I am in the middle of. Because there's a lot of those too. Okay. Oh, and I almost dropped all my stuff. Okay, so quickly, I am in the middle of Square Haunting, 5 Writers in London Between the Wars by Francesca Wade. This is, oh, I didn't write down the audiobook narrator. Anyway, I'm listening to the audio. I bought the audio sometime last year to read this. So I got the library copy so I can go through it because there are some pictures about them. I have read the first section HD, and I'm on Dorothy Sayers right now. I'm not done with Dorothy. I think I still have, I might be really close to being done with her this morning because I listened to it in the car when I went to get coffee. Anyway, so far really interesting, and the parallels between these 2 writers. One was a poet, HD is a poet, and then Dorothy L. Sayers, of course, wrote the Lord Peter Wimsey's novels. And it's really funny is because it talks about some of those, and the ones that I only read 3 of them. I read the main ones, which is really weird. I read, as I said, well, the ones I think are main. I guess I should have read more, but I read the Whose Body, Strong Poison, which I don't remember if I ever finished that one, but I know I started it. This is again, back in, I read them in high school. And then Gaudy Night is the one I remember the most. I think I read that first, which I think my teacher was trying to get me to read some other mysteries when I was only reading Agatha Christie at the time. I don't remember what it was. I don't know why I got that or was recommended it because I read Christie. I'm not sure. But anyway, but it made me want to reread her books, and I realized I don't own any of them anymore because I had them in high school and I got rid of them at, somewhere along the line. So anyway, I don't know. We might have to read a Peter Wimsey novel or reread one. I might reread Strong Poison because I don't remember that one as well as anyway, it was years ago. I don't remember. Anyway, so the point is it's been very interesting so far, this history. So I still have 5 writers to go through. I know Virginia Woolf is one of them. Jane Ellen Harrison, I believe, is a classicist. I'm not positive. And then Ellen Power, I don't know who that is. Economic historian. Yeah. So I'm still, again, and then Virginia Woolf. So I'm really enjoying this. I have probably about 5 hours left on the audio to listen to. Again, I own the audiobook, so it is going to count towards my TBR kind of list of books reading off my shelf. Because even though I don't have a physical of this, it's an Audible that I have an audio copy, so I'm going to count that. Maybe, I don't know. I'm still working on my whole spreadsheet thing. But I do, as I said, plan to, when I have a audiobook that I can get a library book from, I usually get it so I can, and then again, this one has some pictures and stuff in it. So anyway, this I'm reading that for my nonfiction right now. My other nonfiction is my physical read is Mad and Bad, Real Heroines of the Regency by B. Cook. So this is my pick for my nonfiction list for 2023. That I bought this back in 2020 when it came out and just never got to it. So right now I'm in the 3rd chapter, which is talking about the mistresses of some of the royalty and stuff. So, which is very interesting. As I said, this is a book talking about a lot of the women during the Regency period and how they're related to the Regency and to all the things we kind of read about in historical romances that are kind of on the periphery, and what history kind of tells us beyond what, actually happened. And some of these stories are harrowing, what these women went through. And it's so far very, very interesting. And I'm glad I picked this up. So I'm just reading, I read about 20 to 30 pages every once in a while. So not every day, but here and there. I'm hopefully going to get it done before the end of the month. But I just want to read a little bit every night. Usually I try to read it when I first get home, and then so I read a little bit and then read a couple of sections on different people and then put it down. I can only read so much of it at a time because it's a lot of history. Anyway, so the point is that I'm enjoying it and getting through that. I did start last night The Stolen Mackenzie Bride by Jennifer Ashley, so I had this on my shelf. since it came out in 2015. So this again is the Mackenzie and McBride series, which is one of my favorite historical romance series. This is book 8, but this is where I stopped reading because this takes a timeline jump. The other books are all taking place in the late 1890s, 1880s, 1890s. So they're, there's that that kind of Victorian era, and then we're back to 1745, around one of the Jacobite rebellions. Anyway, so this is dealing with Malcolm, who is the youngest of the Mackenzies at this time. They also have a horrible father, just like the one in the other story. Anyway, and he falls for Mary, who is English, and she is betrothed to somebody else, and her father is very important in the English government. But at that point, is it Charles II has landed, and he is marching on Edinburgh. So we have this thing where he's falling in love with her and trying to talk her into leaving her engagement to come with him, and then this war thing is going to start. So that just happened. So we'll see how that goes. I'm only about 55 pages in. So again, I really like Jennifer Ashley. She's, again, one of my favorite authors. I read a lot of her stuff, but I go in waves, and I'm trying to get back to all the series I'm partially through. And this is the one I want to at least read this one. I would like to finish up the 5 books I have I have 3 of them physically and 2 ebooks. So, but I'd like to get to these. So anyway, this one is my historical romance I'm reading right now. And then what I think I'm going to read after that is I'm going to return to The Queen of Raiders by Sarah Kozloff, because I read the first 50 pages and then I had to put it down because I had reread the first book, A Queen in Hiding, and then I started reading this one, and it just emotionally destroyed me at one point, and I just had to take a break. So I think now I'm feeling, it's been a week. By the time I get to it, it'll probably be about 2 weeks since I finished A Queen in Hiding. So I'm hoping, or a little bit less than 2 weeks, but close to that. But then I want to get to this and continue on. This is the second book in the 9 Realms series, where we're following, in the first book, we are following a queen who is dealing with treachery within her own court, and she is trying to figure out how to save her and her daughter from what is happening. And then there's like a overarching plot within the world where there is one country pretty much out to destroy everybody else, because due to religions and due to things going on in their country where they are having sicknesses and plagues, and they think it's because the world doesn't worship their gods. So the gods are very close to this world. They have people who are kind of their voices and do things for them. So it's been very interesting. This series is, I really enjoyed the first book. And again, I said I read it a year ago, and so I reread it for, was the second book I read, or second or third book I read. This, I guess, well, I don't remember what order. I read it a couple weeks ago, reread A Queen in Hiding, and then, so I want to get back to this one. And then on Monday, I guess tomorrow, I am starting the next book in the Innkeeper Chronicles. This is book 4. Yes, Sweep of the Blade by Alona Andrews. I am doing a buddy read with T and all the books of this series. So we are going to read it over the next 4 days. So I don't know what this one's about, and I don't care. I'm just going to go into it. The Innkeeper Chronicles is following Dina, who is an innkeeper who has this inn that has what I want to say, has a technology where allows it to be what it needs to be for the aliens that visit. They come. Earth is considered kind of like a space hub, like, kind of like an airport hub, kind of like Atlanta or something. But they're taking place in Texas, and her inn is kind of one that had been abandoned, and she is taking over. She has her own backstory with her parents and their inn had disappeared at one point. So she and her brother are searching for it, but her brother has now disappeared into space somewhere, and she doesn't know where he's at. And we get to know more as every book comes. We learn more about her and her family. We get to know the people who work around the inn, people who live there, and it's just that these there's always something goes wrong. She helps somebody, and then things just go wrong for everybody, and it just works out. I really love this series. So again, this is book 4. We're going to read that this week. And then what I'm going to read after, audiobook wise, I'm going to read after Square Haunting, I believe, is going to be The Invention of Nature, The Adventures of Alexander von Humboldt, The Lost Hero of Science by Andrea Wolfe. I have the audiobook from the library. I was going to try that. If not, I will read this physically. There are some pictures here and there. So I don't know. I might maybe do an immersion read. I don't do that that often. But this is, again, a nonfiction about Humboldt, and again it talks about his life and the things in nature science that he dealt with. And so I've known his name. Again, you know, it's one of those things where I don't know a lot about him, but I heard this is a really good book, and so I got, as I said, I got the audio from the library to try to get through this. If that doesn't work, I'll just read it physically, and it might take me longer. You know, it might be something that if the audiobook doesn't work out, then I'll wait till after I finish Mad and Bad, and then I will read this a little bit every day. We'll see. But that's also on my list of nonfiction to get read this year. So that is everything. This whole long. I know this is long, and I had that kind of, you know, just kind of happened real quick to do my board. So let's see here what I got. So I continued with a Pendrick. I put down start when it's a reread. No, I don't think I do that. I did do another reread with Perdido Station. I read one translated work. I have down now mystery. I've added that in here. Kind of looks kind of funny because, again, I want to read more mysteries this year. Last year and the year before, I read very few mysteries. So that's why I read The Icelander to get that done. Is that it? Oh, and then I read another continue because I read the Ishmael Jones. And then I am going to count on page count the above 700 for Perdido Station because I did read a big book. I think that counts. So anyway, that's what the board looks like so far, which means I have, you can see my reflections. Sorry about that. So, I mean, for 2 weeks, that's pretty good. Anyway, as I said, I do this for the 3 months and then I clear it for the next 3 months kind of thing. So kind of shows everything. And I'm trying to hit certain goals. I did play with my journal yesterday and got that all set up so I can mark when I do read stuff from the list that I put out. I'm going to put out one more list this week just to kind of refresh of the 12 books that I did a try chapter on that I kept that were mostly urban fantasy and paranormal romance that I have not read yet. And so that'll come out sometime this week. And again, House Immortal is one of those, but I'm looking at to see which series. Again, I shouldn't really start 12 more series from that. But I also think I should read the first books in those to decide if I do want to continue those series, because I have already made that decision to keep that book. So I should really read them. So I'm going to do that. That's going to be another project this year to try to get to. So, and maybe you guys can tell me which ones I need to read first. So anyway, that's it. I think that's everything. So let me know what you guys are reading, what's going on with what you're reading, with your book buying. How are you doing? As I'm behind by several that I've already bought more than I've read off my shelf, which is sad. I'm working on it. Anyway, so that's it. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.